The Genesis G70 has offered some of the best value in the luxury sports sedan segment since it debuted in 2019, at least with the 3.3-liter V6 option, but the 2-liter did leave something to be desired. Here in 2024, they fixed that issue as well as addressed a few others. As always, we're going to go through this thing from the outside in, talk about what this has been like to live with for the past week, and talk about what the changes are here for the 2024 model year. Let's go ahead and take a look. As I mentioned, your biggest change is going to be underneath the hood here for 2024 when you're talking about the base models. The 2-liter inline 4, that Theta 2 engine is gone. Now we have a 2.5-liter inline 4, still turbocharged. This is the SmartStream engine that was used in the Kia Stinger after that one got the engine refresh. It has also been used in a few other of the Genesis products, but you're going to see big bumps in numbers here. We're looking at 300 horsepower, 311 pound-feet of torque, bumps of about 50 horsepower, about 50 pound-feet of torque. Those are numbers that you are definitely going to feel. We're looking at about 20 city, 28 highway for fuel economy, which is about the same as it was last year, at least when you're in the all-wheel drive version like I have here. I'm averaging around 22 here, but I do tend to get on the lower side of the EPA estimates in my testing. We're still going to be mated to an 8-speed automatic transmission no matter which powertrain you choose. You're still going to have the option between the 4-cylinder and the 6-cylinder, and you're still going to have the option of rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. This color is called Kawa Blue, and this is another one of the updates here for 2024, and everybody has to have a new gray. For some reason, every single automaker, you look through the press kits for the latest changes and there's always a new gray. But I love this blue, especially when you pair it with the bright red brake calipers. Just looks stunning in person. Now, I'm not going to go through all of the details here as I did go through all of those in my previous G70 review with the 2023, but those are the big changes here. But a couple things of note here, we are sitting on 19s. That's going to be standard no matter what trim level you're in, no matter whether you get rear drive, all-wheel drive, Sport Prestige, the regular, the advanced, no matter what, you're going to be on 19s, which means that Genesis can tune this car specifically to sit on 19. So that is great news there. But this one is going to be on Primacy Tour all seasons. If you choose the all-wheel drive model, you're going to get Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's. If you choose the rear drive model, so that is an important distinction. With greater moving power, you need greater stopping power. And here for 2024, Genesis has added the Brembo brakes as standard now across the board. So previously, you could only get those with the 3.3-liter engine and only in the top spec Sport Prestige package. Now, no matter what trim level, no matter what engine, you get those big Brembo brakes. We do have the auto folding mirrors here only because we're in the Sport Prestige package. Otherwise, you would just get the LED turn signals and the heat and the blind spot monitoring. But the power folding as well as the auto dimming are only in the Sport Prestige. If you want the blind spot camera or you want the 360 camera, you are going to have to up to the 3.3-liter engine. Those are not available at all paired with the 2.5-liter engine. Not the end of the world, but a little bit disappointing that you can't even option those. As you can see, we do have keyless access either way though, and a beautiful look from the side here. No keyless access to the back, that is only in the front, that lock, touch to lock and touch to unlock. Size-wise here, we are nice and compact, so we're competing with the CT4 from Cadillac, we're competing with the Lexus IS, competing with the 3 Series from BMW. The only change up front for 2024 is some texture through the Genesis logo through here. I'm not going to use the name that they used in the press materials because I am going to absolutely butcher it. It's a French word. I will put it on the screen. I'm not going to even try to say it.
Guilloche.
But love the contour through here. Love all this through here. The front end just looks so nice. This dark chrome is just because we're in the Sport Prestige, but that is going to be the same as last year. But if you get the base model, you're not going to have the dark chrome. Do have full LED headlights, full LED daytime running lights. That is the same as it was last year as well, and lots of real cooling all throughout. You do have parking sensors across the front, no matter which trim level. But if you want that front camera, again, if you want the 360 camera, then you are going to have to go up into the 3 3.3 liter engine. The back end here remains unchanged from 2024, but I love the look to it. Very cohesive Genesis design here with the LED taillights and the way they do the stripes like this. I absolutely love that. All-wheel drive badge. You do have the backup camera. Of course, you have to have a backup camera here post 2018. Parking sensors across the back are standard. We got the big ovals around the exhaust tips. You're not going to get the same kind of noises you get with that V6. But still get some pretty nice pops and bangs with this one. And then we do have the button push to open. And you also have the button on the key fob here. If you want the power trunk, like the smart open, then you do have to get the 3.3 liter engine. That is only available the 3.3 in the Sport Prestige. And there's not a ton of space back here when you're comparing against other compact sedans, but it's definitely not your road tripper here. This is going to be something that you're going to use maybe to daily drive. You can maybe road trip with 1 or 2 people, but you're not going to put your whole family in here and try to take a road trip. You do have a real spare underneath the floorboard here, so nice to see that for sure, as well as easy access to your lights if you got to change those out. And we've got a 60-40 split on the seats there. Got a grab handle so you don't have to grab the paint. And we've got the nice hefty Genesis key here. Love these. These are nice and classy. So as I mentioned, you can open with the button right there. The other thing you can do here is you can start the car right here from the key fob. No apps, no subscriptions. Lock it up and hold that down and starts right up no matter what trim level. Love to see that. Nice, easy access, nice, clear instructions on the key. No subscriptions, no apps. The updates for 2024 almost feel like just change for the sake of change. Not really sure that it needed an update here on the interior. But this little, like the knurling around here on these knobs is kind of nice. See the knurling up here, little pattern around the cup holders. Nice little touch, I guess. The updated switches here, I'm not a fan of. They're fine. If I hadn't looked back at what they had last year, I probably wouldn't have minded this too much. But last year, there were just black buttons with like metal trim around them, and they were really nice. Physical buttons and knobs for the HVAC. And now we have this touchscreen thing and these weird knobs with a hole in the middle. It didn't feel like it needed updating. I feel like I liked the last year's interior a little bit better. Outside of, these nice little touches. But again, it just feels like change for the sake of change. Maybe somebody was shaving pennies. I don't know. But outside of those little updates, everything else is the same. Well, there are a couple of new color options as well. You have fog gray and obsidian black here, this two-tone option. There's another two-tone option as well. There's vanilla and obsidian black. So it's like black and white or black and grayish. So if I ever move out of New England, I'll have something to remind me of the sky in the winter. But it's a little bit light for my taste, especially if you have kids in here. I'd just be worried about it getting dirty just in general, even if I didn't have kids in here. I'd just be worried about it getting dirty. So personally, I'd probably stick with a darker color. I like the red a lot. They have a black as well. But the seats are comfortable. These are leather. You get the leather with the Sport Prestige. You get a leatherette if you're in the base trim. If you go with the 3.3 Sport Prestige, then you get Napa leather. Not available here with the 2.5 liter engine, unfortunately. But everything else around the cabin here, we do have these nice leather surfaces. The plastic surfaces are, at least most of them are not gloss black, other than this new swath across here and a little bit up here. So not too many fingerprinty, dusty spots. Not nearly as bad as most of the other cars at this price point. Nice switchgear here on the steering wheel. This is just some of the best. Hyundai, Genesis, Kia have some of the easiest to use switchgear on the steering wheels, and they didn't go with the gloss black stuff. They just went with these nice, simple plastic buttons. They're not like the super cheap plasticky feeling like sticky, glossy stuff. They made good choices with materials, made good choices with usability on everything here. You got the paddle shifters as well. Again, you got the knobs here. The gauge cluster looks really nice. This is not updated here for 2024, as I mentioned. The rest of this stuff is the same. I wish they would have kept an analog gauge on both sides. They have this like gauge mimicking an analog gauge, but the actual analog gauge looks super classy with the silver and the white and the black and the red. But a little bit of information that you can scroll through in here. Again, I'm not going to go through all the details here since I was just in a G70 not that long ago. But we have Lexicon sound system here. We've got memory seats. We got the heated and ventilated seats because we're in the Sport Prestige trim here. If you want the heads-up display, you unfortunately do have to get the 3.3. You cannot get that with the 2.5 liter engine. The infotainment system here, nice and quick and easy. Everything here is laid out very well. Genesis does a great job with their infotainment systems. There's still no wireless Android Auto, still no wireless CarPlay, which is strange coming out of a Kia product last week that had wireless Android Auto finally. So I wish that would have made it here to Genesis, but not the end of the world. You can get a dongle for it, but would be nice to see that as an update here. Outside of that, all your driver's assist settings are easily accessible through here. Again, I mentioned this goes through a Lexicon sound system because we're in the Sport Prestige. Lexicon is Harman Kardon's premium version, basically. It's fine. It's not one that I would go out of my way to upgrade for, but if it's an upgrade over the regular Harman Kardon, but it's not going to compete super well against a lot of the other top end stuff. We got the new frameless mirror. Actually, this is another update for 2024. Now we have a frameless mirror here. The only reason that it's auto dimming is because we're in the Sport Prestige. We do have the home link. There is a spot for my garage door opener, also for sunglasses. Got the nice sunroof. Sunroof doesn't go all the way back, but nice wide sunroof here. The Sport Prestige lets you mess with your passenger if you want to crunch them or move them around, or if you want to move the seat because they're about to step in. Back seats are not super usable here. 35 inches of legroom. It's pretty much on par with the rest of the segment though. The only thing that's really going to give you a lot more legroom in this segment is going to be in the Integra, but then you're way down on power when you compare to this, and you got the CVT. So really, I would compare this more with the TLX. When you go into the TLX, then you lose all the legroom in the back, and this actually ends up having slightly more legroom. So, but if you don't have people in the back often, then that won't be an issue. But my kids fit back there okay. In forward-facing seats, I wouldn't want to put rear-facing seats back there. They do have the center armrest with the cup holder. They do have some lights. They do have some vents. They do have a couple of USBs. And there's a USB-C in here. That's new for 2024, actually. And then your switchgear down here is all the same. Your drive modes, your parking brake, your gear shift is all standard stuff here. Nice low impact, easy to use. Pops back into the middle. They didn't go too crazy with the gear shift. Everybody's doing these knobs and dials and buttons. This one's nice and simple. But generally, the interior here, for this price point, this is one of the better interiors, honestly, just because there isn't like the gloss black stuff everywhere. It's just really the only thing that I wish they would have left this alone. And I wish that there was wireless Android Auto, but that's fixable. As always with these reviews, I've been daily driving this car, and the G70 is great as a daily driver. This thing is not lacking for power with the new engine at all. If you need to hit a gap, if you need to accelerate for the highway, whatever, to merge or whatever it is you need to do, the power is there, the power is available. It's not like over the top. If you need more than 300 horsepower, more than 300 pound-feet of torque, then you're probably not on a public road, or you're on a very empty road. Like if you are canyon carving and you probably want the 3.3 liter, you probably want the limited slip differential, because unfortunately you cannot get the limited slip differential with the 2.5 liter engine, and you cannot get the electronically controlled suspension. But we'll talk about the suspension here in a little bit. But the engine here is really very well tuned here, and it is perfect for the daily drive. When I first got in the car now, I did think like, oh, it feels really laggy. You hit the gas and there's just like this big lag, and it's just sort of slow to accelerate. Then you pop it into sport mode and you can just move. So that's really engineered in, that lag just sort of, so you're not snapping your passenger's head back, so you have a nice, comfortable, easy daily drive here. But you put it into Sport or Sport Plus, and it will get out of its own way so nicely. There's not really any throttle lag at all when you're in sport mode. There's not really much turbo lag either, which is surprising. So they did a really great job of tuning this engine, and it is plenty powerful. Really well done on the tuning of this engine. And the transmission here, it has the 8-speed transmission. I talked about this a little bit in the other video. I'm not going to dive too deep into all the other stuff that's going to be the same as the 3.3 liter. The transmission is excellent. It's not quite as snappy, not quite as quick as a ZF 8-speed like in the BMW, but it's still a very good transmission, and the paddle shifters here do respond very quickly. It is great if you are someone that does like to use manual mode, or even if you don't like to use manual mode, you put it into sport mode, let it do its own thing, and let it rev out, and it'll be nice and quick on the shifts, and nice and aggressive on letting it rev out, nice and aggressive on the shifting here. I haven't had any issues with the transmissions, like automatic programming here. It hasn't like lugged or anything. That was a big issue with like the AMG, the C43 that I was in. Sometimes it would just take a minute to downshift and it would kind of lug. This one has no problems with that. I have no issues with the transmission choices when it's in automatic mode. The ride quality here for the daily drive is a little bit on the stiff side, but it's on par with a lot of the other sports sedans. The 3 Series rides about the same unless you get the adjustable suspension with the adaptive dampers. This one, unfortunately, with the 2.5 liter, you cannot get the electronically controlled suspension. You do have to get the 3.3 liter for that. If you want a smoother ride in a sports sedan, you're gonna have to go into like a Lexus IS or the Acura TLX, even the Integra. But the Integra doesn't have nearly as much power. It's kind of a strange thing here, but I feel like the TLX competes a little bit more than the Integra does in this space. So if you want a smoother ride, you get the Acura, you get the Lexus, but they're not going to keep up at quite as well dynamically as this one, and the 3 Series are really going to be your best dynamically out of those 4. But suspension a little bit on the stiff side, not really super uncomfortable or anything, but sports sedan level of stiffness, about what you would expect from something in this class, unless you're buying a Lexus. Steering here, nice and heavy, a little bit of feedback here, but good weight to it generally, even if it is electronic power steering here. And then it gets even heavier when you pop it into Sport or Sport Plus, but really a big fan of the steering here. You can just place the wheels very, very nicely here. Very direct here, not a lot of, it doesn't take a lot of movement here. There's not really a lot of dead space. It doesn't take a lot of movement to get the wheels to go exactly where you need. And then the updated brakes, the Brembo brakes, they work, they're excellent. No problems with the brakes. So they really dynamically nailed this car down very, very well. This is an excellent daily driver. If you're pushing it harder, if you're someone who you want to go canyon carving, maybe you want to go to the track, wouldn't necessarily pick this. But if you did want the G70 that was more capable, then you're going to want to get the 3.3 liter. You're going to want to get the one with the limited slip differential with the electronically controlled suspension. Now this one is all-wheel drive, which means we don't get the super sticky tires. We're on the Primacy Tour all season, so if you get the rear drive, you can get those Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's, or if you get the all-wheel drive and you want to swap those out, those are going to be a stickier tire. Those are going to be a little bit better for when you're pushing the car, unless you want to go sideways. If you really like going sideways, then leave the Primacies on. but this is going to be rear biased, even though it's all-wheel drive. And I love that Genesis allows you to see what the wheels are doing, but when you put it into sport mode, it does get those front wheels involved a little bit more. It actually gets the front wheels involved quite often, especially when you're accelerating hard and it just digs in, it grips, and it gets all four wheels involved. But there are a lot of times where it'll just be rear wheels, and it'll be a little bit more rear biased, but it does get the front wheels involved quite a bit more often than I expected. When it comes to driver's assist features, safety features, again, all of this stuff I talked about a little bit in my other video, but there are a couple of things here that the heads-up display really actually is the only thing you can't get with the 2.5 liter engine, which seems like a strange omission, but it's a convenience thing. It's nice. Genesis actually has one of the better heads-up displays out there, because I like that it has the blind spot monitoring and it has some of the information about drivers around you, but it's really not the end of the world. I've had no issues not having a heads-up display. What Genesis does really well with the driver's assist is they do the highway drive assist is very good. So this it'll be like lane centering as well as adaptive cruise, one of the best systems. This one does that. It does it very, very well. It also has the blind spot monitoring with the rear cross traffic alert, where it will sort of lower the volume of your music and give you just like a nice easy beep. It doesn't give you this like harsh loud beeps that are just like super in your face. It gives you enough to let you know something's happening without blaring your ears out, without causing you to panic or anything. It is a little bit on the aggressive side the way I have it set, but you can change it, which is nice. So you can just change those settings right through here. The one thing I do wish though with those parking sensors is, when you get the 3.3 liter Sport Prestige, then you do get the 360 view. So when you hit the parking sensors get set off, and then the 360 view comes on. You don't get the 360 view with the 2.5 liter. Not the end of the world, but it is a nice convenience feature that would be nice to have here on the 2.5. So a little bit strange that you can't get the heads-up display or the 360 camera, but I guess that's the upsell. When you pump it into Sport Plus, traction mode turns off automatically, and we go. So as an overall experience here, this thing is great to drive. This is like this driving experience, this level of comfort for this price, with this new engine, this is like the best value on the market. This is such a great car to drive. Like, I would buy one of these. I would love to own one of these. I wouldn't even get the 3.3 because I'm daily driving it. I'm not, even if I wanted to push it a little bit hard, it can handle that. I'm not like taking it to the track. I'm not pushing it super, super hard. In my daily life here, I would absolutely buy one of these. At the end of the day, Genesis has made the base version of this car even more viable. This is now the best value here in the luxury sports sedan segment with this 2.5 liter engine. If you do need that extra power, if you want the limited slip differential, if you're pushing your car a little harder, maybe you do want to opt for the 3.3 liter. But if you're looking at the base version of the car, if you're looking at 4 cylinders, then this is excellent value right here. I do wish that they would have left some of the things on the interior alone. I did like last year's interior better, but nothing here is really a deal breaker on the inside. As always, make sure to hit all the YouTube things down below. I hate to say it every video, but it really does help me out. If you have any questions, have any comments, have any concerns, just want to say hi, let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.